Hello and welcome back. We're talking emotional loops today. This is the tough one, and it might be a stretch some of the stuff that I want to tell you because you've probably heard it 1,000 times before. You've probably heard that your brain is stuck and that it's never going to get out. You've probably heard that you can change everything on a whim. Guess what? Both of those two things can be true, and it depends on you. What we want to establish early on here is that you do have this thing called free will. You do have a choice. Yes, your circumstances may have been created by outside forces, outside influences. However, we now know that we can change the wiring of the brain. We can change the way the nervous system treats us and gives us impulses and compulses. We don't have to be resigned to the fact, so-called fact that is, that the way we are is the way we are always going to be. Let's think about things in a different way. When we are young, we are quite commonly thought of as being growth machines. We develop through all the different stages of growth, the mental, the emotional, and the physical. That is so well documented, and everyone, I would say, agrees that growth and change is going to happen. But then somewhere in the mix, the opinion changes, and for some weird reason, people believe that they can't change. What I would say to that is that this in itself is an emotional loop. Why? Because change often means to people unfamiliar territory, uncertainty. And what happens when we get triggered in an uncertain scenario? We feel fear, we feel doubt, we feel lack, we feel scarcity. The reality is, change does breed all of those things. And in some, it's debilitating. But there's a caveat to that. If we're able to use that notion as a workshop, as a framework, and look to the next step, we can actually see that some of the growth, if not all of the growth in question, will actually be positive. So within the emotional trauma loop space, if I am able to step into a place mentally and emotionally where I feel happy, will I be satisfied with the change and the letting go of the emotional drama loops? Hands up if you think that that's worthwhile doing. Now, why are so many people addicted to their drama loops? Well, firstly, it's an automatic behavior. 95% of our behaviors are governed by our nervous system. They're on autopilot. And this is a phenomena that's getting more and more popular. Guess what? Adopt this notion ASAP, because if there's times in your life right now, it could be as simple as just wanting a deeper connection with family members, a loved one. It could be something as big as creating a completely different you. Those things require some change. And on the way to doing that, you're going to have to break a few neural bonds and create a few neural bonds. And that can be a little bit painful. It can breed a bit of uncertainty. And it certainly can. And this is the thing that a lot of people who are fearful and doubtful don't look at, is it can really be pleasurable. It can be really beneficial for your life. So here's a key indicator that you're stuck on auto. Firstly, you're telling a story all of the time. People are asking how you are, and you're stuck in yesterday's news. I'm not talking yesterday as in just yesterday. I'm talking about the past. The past is where the emotional trigger was created. Take a look at our diagram. The trigger then creates some form of behavior which is linked to a memory which you associated some kind of meaning for. A positive version of an emotional loop would be, I ate a really nice food, it made me feel a sense of gratitude and happiness, I'm probably going to go ahead and eat that food again. This tends to happen on autopilot. This is how aversions or pleasures exist. I had a bad experience with a certain thing, therefore in the future I'm going to avoid it. And when it happens on purpose, it can be very positive because you're avoiding danger, or in the case of pleasure, you're encouraging yourself to enjoy something that's really beneficial. But here's the problem. Sometimes you have an experience that is of a nature that makes you feel not so good, but the thing you're doing actually is really beneficial for you. Let me give you an example. You go for a run the very first time. You push really hard because you saw someone next to you and you go, yeah, I can do that. And then the feedback was, oh my God, this is hell. I can't wait to never do this again. And of course you don't, because you don't want to go through that pain again. That is the unconscious mind, the automatic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system doing what it does. It's keeping you safe. And what is the purpose of it doing that? So that you can prevent yourself from imminent death. It's a survival mechanism. It's a means to reduce the amount of resources that are used and keep you safe so that you don't die, essentially. However, we know that when you run, walk, exercise of any description in a tempered manner, you actually get some great health benefits. The contrast to that, the contrary to that, is extremely beneficial. So in the case of running or exercising, avoiding exercising all of the time is a really great way to reduce your lifespan. So we have to find that balance. What is the threshold of the energy and the intensity that I can run or exercise so that I get some of those feel-good feelings that come, the dopamine, the oxytocin, the endorphins that come from the strain or the stress of exercise, but doesn't bring me to that max out level so that I'm not deterred from doing it. We want a positive feedback loop in the direction of the goal. So you might be sitting here going, actually, yeah, this resonates so much with me because I find myself getting stuck in self-limiting beliefs like I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too dumb, I'm too slow, and you have yourself a little pity party. Don't you worry, I am just the same and have been just the same my entire life. When you look at things rationally, which is tough to do, especially as a young person or especially as a person who doesn't have enough resources or help, it's very difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is why it's so amazing you've got resources like this and other videos on YouTube where you can actually see the effects of the things that people are doing in their lives to bring themselves continuously forward or upward in a direction that leads them to that thing that they're achieving. If you're looking at getting rid of a trauma loop, it is a tough one. I get it. The nervous system has experienced some seriously difficult stuff, and it is stored that as a memory. And of course, there are different aversions and avoidances that come as a result of that. There are different dysfunctions. It's difficult to connect with other people. It's difficult to connect with yourself. And of course, the pain of that trauma may well be repeatedly reminded in your brain, in your mind, because of the intensity of the emotion. Well, what about this? What about if you're able to bring yourself into a different place, a different state of mind, that you could then release that loop. You could then build a new loop, one that contains a different type of sensation, a happiness, a joy, a gratitude, and then you could practice that much like the action of exercising does, where you grow over time through some real actions in that emotional space. Now, the reason I bring that up because often what people do is they mask their emotional loops with compensations. Okay, so as a child, and this is an example. So as a child, I didn't have enough stuff or money, or I lived in poverty. So I'm going to grow my brain. I'm going to grow myself so that I can have unlimited amounts of money and hide the fact that I felt so insecure or not worthy or to feel like a loser. That compensation method may work, but it comes at a cost. That person has to work significantly hard, always running the risk in their mind that having what they have is not enough. And it's that scarcity mindset, which is built through the trauma loop in that scenario, that builds an insatiable appetite to acquire things and money. I love having things and I love having money, but living in that cycle is a prison I don't wish for anyone. What's a better way? To understand that they do have enough internally, that they are enough, because that's all that these things are actually compensating for. The internal scarcity that was created by the emotional trauma as a child. It's crazy to see what we do as humans based on negative experiences. But once you understand the mechanism and then you look back, you can go forward and say, I'm going to retrain that path so that I don't feel like I don't have enough inside, that I am enough as I am. But simultaneously, if you choose to want to grow and grow through that and have a fulfilling life where I can acquire money and I can acquire things, but I'm not bound to them. I'm not bound in the sense that if I don't grow any more money or things today, or even next week or even the next year, I'll still be fulfilled, because the reason that I'm building this affluence is purely because it's a skill that I love to enjoy to teach others or my children or to pass on, because the fact of the matter is having money in society is definitely a helpful thing. So you can see there's a difference in the energy when it comes to building the exact same thing. The scarcity versus the abundance. And you might be going, yeah, I've heard this before. The reason I bring that up is because we build psychological models around everything, and we have energetic models underlying within all of our behaviors. We're going to understand this more in depth today through the breathwork practice, where you're going to be able to set an intention about what kind of change that you require for today. So you might be feeling scarcity, you might be feeling a lack of emotional connection or security, any kind of thing like that. You might just be feeling down in the dumps, and you want to replace that with a different emotional loop. And I'm going to show you how to break that pattern in the moment so that you can do this every time you feel not so good, and that you can build a new emotional pattern which also leverages the same system we're talking about here for the causation of negative loops, but instead you're going to build a positive loop. And when you build that positive loop, guess what happens? The way that you behave changes positively. So you start to think more positively, you start to feel more positively, and you start to behave more positively. Now, the way we're going to do that today, it's through breathwork. And of course, if you've seen my videos before, you know that I love breathwork, you know that I love energy healing, and you know that I love emotional stuff. The reason for that is I grew up in the 80s. We don't talk about emotions, we don't deal with emotions, and if you have some emotions, we're not even going to acknowledge that they exist. I'm an emotional person. I've lived my life in an emotional way, and it was extremely dysfunctional during that time. I didn't have the skills, the tools, the knowledge, and the capabilities that came with a person who would be secure in that state. So I lived the majority of my life being a very insecure person, and of course that led to some pretty crappy emotional loops, which led to some pretty crappy physical behaviors. And by gosh, I wasted a lot of time doing that. So let's not do that. Let's shortcut the process. We can identify some emotional loops that are going wrong, and we can identify the mechanism by which they were created. And then we can go ahead and use the exact same system to create something amazing for you. So the first step that you want to take is understanding these two states of consciousness. I am generalizing because, hey, who the hell wants to go through a full neuroscience lecture just to get to the one thing that'll lead them out of pain and into pleasure? So the two general states, parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic system, or the sympathetic state of being, is where you're a bit stressed out. You could be on autopilot, you could be rushing around. It doesn't have to be full chaos, but generally speaking, this is what happens when you go to work. You switch into work mode, you start to rush, you start to hurry, but this could happen before work mode. It could have just been getting the kids off to school, rushing through traffic. You're dealing with this low-level ongoing stress. It's really hard and subtle to notice this when you've been doing it for a while. It becomes familiar. What we're going to do today is draw you back to the parasympathetic state of being, which is a state of calm, rest, and relaxation. It's where your body rejuvenates. Why this is so important? Because if you spend, let's say, around 14 to 15 hours a day awake, and you spend 10 to 12 of it in a high stress state, or at least a moderately stressed state, you're going to go to sleep that night and you're not going to recover that well, because you've not trained your body to recover. You've trained it to be stressed all day long. So it's going to be really good at being stressed. Now, that also means you might not have eaten some great food, you might not have had enough water intake, you might not have gone to the gym, you might not have done your stretching, you might not have done some recovery tools like breathwork or cold plunges or sauna. Your nervous system might be really jacked up. And that means it's going to go to bed, and it relies completely on sleep as a tool for regulating the nervous system. So we're not saying you can't do a lot of work, but what we're saying is, hey, let's find ways while we're awake to teach your body how to bring that nervous system back to a parasympathetic state periodically throughout the day, and increase the way in which you produce energy through breathing. If you're in a high stress state through the day, you're probably breathing through your mouth. And if you've done all those other things that are negative that I just spoke of, probably not eating the best and all the rest of it, you might have gained a few kilos, which means when you go to sleep, you're not breathing so well, you might be snoring, and as you get to 40 years of age and over, these things compound. Who here has noticed a real up tilt in sleep apnea? CPAP machines use is massive. Obesity is massive. This is no coincidence. It is because of the way we live. It is the amount of stress that our bodies have to deal with on the daily, not just in the physical through doing lots of physical laborious jobs, but also through emotional interactions with other people that aren't going so well, or problems you might have had with your own family that never get resolved. It also comes through the high workload that a lot of people have in their work, in the mental end of things. Now, even though I'm doing this and it's really fun for me and fulfilling, there's still an amount of stress that I have to undergo in order to present the video. This is really important for you to understand. Your output means that there's a stress load on the body, which means you need a correctional input. So the sleep, the warm baths with some magnesium salts, the massages, the physiotherapists, the needling, the sound healing, all of the energetic healing that you could possibly get into, that you love, the Reiki, the breathwork, all of that kind of stuff needs to come in order to balance things out. And why is that? Because our body loves to get back to a sense of balance, which means if you've got way more output than you have input, then you're just never going to get that sense of being rested and recovered. Make sense? Now, this is where it gets really interesting for those more sciencey, nerdy type people like myself. We've got these 4 different brainwave states. Now, there's bound to be more in the mix, but these are the major 4 that you want to pay attention to. So that sympathetic state we spoke of, that is often found in the awakeness of our day. So when we are thinking and moving quickly and participating in all the activities that we got to get done, checking off the boxes as we go, that's known as that beta brainwave state. Just beneath that, it's more like a flow state. It's called alpha wave. It's where creativity starts to prop up and you start to feel like you're getting stuff done in a timeless manner. It seems like you're getting ideas flowing through when you really aren't doing any work to get it. It feels like you're in the flow. That's a beautiful state to be in, and breathing in a really calm manner as you perform your hectic tasks is one way to get there. The state we're looking to get to today is known as the theta brainwave state, and this is the meditative state. This is where you bypass the conscious mind and you get straight to the subconscious mind, and you can give it the information that it needs to rewire it, reprogram it, and do what you want it to do in terms of thinking, feeling, and then the adjacent behaviors that follow. Now, you have a look in the diagram there. You'll see a little heart behind the theta brainwave diagram there. That's because we're going to use a technique called coherence, heart-brain breathing. It is fantastic for rewiring. A theta brainwave state happens naturally twice a day. It happens as you wake up and as you go to sleep, because there's a natural progression between the different states. You don't just go straight from full awake to fully asleep, which is great, and we can hijack this. So in the mornings, feel free to use the technique we're going to use soon. In the mornings, you wake up, and if it's not urgent that you rush straight away off to the toilet, avoid doing anything else, especially looking at your phone, and do some heart-brain breathing. Similarly, at nighttime, you're about to pop off. Maybe you've had a good time with the missus, or if you're a woman, maybe you've had a good time with your partner, and you're now ready to doze off. But take yourself 5, 10, maybe even 20 minutes to just do some heart-brain breathing, get connected to yourself, get connected to your heart space, and just think and feel about what you'd like to feel in life. It doesn't have to be a trauma loop that you're solving. It doesn't have to be some chaotic BS that you're trying to get over. It could literally just be that you're feeling stuck and that you'd like to feel more powerful, more confident, more strong in the areas that you're struggling with. This isn't something that is just for releasing trauma or just for getting out of addiction or just for getting over some emotional pain. This is here for everything, and it's freaking phenomenal. So let's get around it. Okay, this might be known as the critical window of change. This is where we have complete autonomy over the messages that we teach our brain to remember, create a meaning and a memory of, and move forward in the physical realm. When you do this, I promise you, if you're doing it correctly, you will feel as if it is happening for real in your real life. When that happens, you know you're onto a good thing. Now, in the beginning, it's a struggle point. It's not so easy to just dip into that heart-brain coherence space, into that theta brainwave state, and then create all the physical, mental, and neurological changes that you need. Stick with it. It's like going to the gym. It's like starting a new pursuit. Of course, you're not going to be an expert pro on the first time. Give yourself some time. What I personally love to do is do those 2 20-minute windows, morning and evening, and then try and do the same kind of breath and even orient my awareness to the center of my chest as I am doing my day with things that don't require a super amount of focus. All right. Now that we've gone through all of the teaching components, it's time to put this practice to the test. The step number 1 that I'd always want you to remember when you're doing either a solo breathwork practice, meditative practice, or whether you're in a group setting like this is set your intention. Make it clear what you would like to get out of this time together. The reason for doing that is because you're going to step into the unknown. As we established earlier, stepping into the unknown is sometimes quite daunting, it's off-putting, and it makes people want to evert. It makes people want to not do the practice because of their limiting beliefs that they've got. We set this intention with the thinking mind, but then we move later as we breathe into the feeling and visualization of that intention happening in real life. Get behind me here. This is an amazing technique that will, if you allow it to, transform the way that you think and feel and potentially the way that you live your life. So take the time right now. Let's do a live practice to set an intention. While you're doing that, I will set one up for you right now. You can use what I say, or you can create your own. My intention for you right now is to create a more happy, more enjoyable, more vibrant, and connected life. To enjoy the things that you do in life, whether they be mundane or super exciting, and to grasp and enjoy a sense of fulfillment in your everyday. Now let's run through the breathing techniques. While you're doing that, please find a nice comfortable space, either seated or lying down. You can do either, whichever one is best for you. Just make sure that it's comfortable. If you're seated, make sure that you're now paying attention to your hips and thighs, that they're touching the surface beneath you, that your feet are firmly planted on the floor, and you've started to bring about a sense of calm in your body. You can even close your eyes down as I'm explaining to further get connected with your body and less with the thinking mind. That intention is going to be brought into your awareness soon enough. What we are going to do is we're going to breathe through our nose for 5 counts. I'll guide you, and then we're going to breathe out through our nose for 5 counts. And as you do so, I'd like you to bring your awareness to the center of your chest. Are you ready? Here we go. So closing down the eyes, getting nice and comfortable, feeling the surface beneath you, just taking time to quickly scan the body if you haven't already, and just release every single little bit of tension that you possibly can. Bringing the shoulders down, letting the hips fall, letting the arms and the legs untense, letting your mind relax, becoming completely relaxed in the mind. No longer racing, no longer ruminating, no longer thinking, just purely listening to the sound of my voice and allowing yourself to reduce and come back to more of a state of calm. And as you come back to that calm, let's begin to breathe. And you're going to breathe in through the nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Continue with that rhythm, counting in your mind. Now today, we bring a beautiful, humbling, and abundant intention into the fold of our lives. We establish that there are things in our way. Maybe some trauma loops, maybe some thinking loops, maybe some trouble at work or trouble at home. But we've established that we can control our body by closing our eyes and breathing gently in through the nose, out through the nose. We can focus on our chest. And if you're having trouble focusing on your chest, please place 1 or 2 of your hands on the center of your chest in your heart space. And as you do this, And as you do this, you might find a sense of calm wash throughout your body. This is exactly what we want. And if you're struggling, don't distress, don't worry. Just allow yourself to continue to breathe, stay focused on counting in your mind, and allow yourself to gently relax deeper and deeper. As you breathe today, know that you're in a safe space, a container filled with love directed from me to you, to know that I empathize with the stuckiness of where you might be at, the difficulty, the emotional loops, the heaviness that it feels like you're going through, the challenges of the mind and the heart. But what we're here to do today is we're here to bring life to the intention of your desire to feel free from the burdens of your emotional, mental, and physical world. The intention for you, whatever it happens to be, the intention for you to feel good about being yourself. Breathing in through the nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Continue with that rhythm. And as we breathe today, revisit the intention that you wish to create. Begin to create the pictures, the moments in time where you see that happening, where you feel it happening within your body, where you see yourself feeling that illustrious self that you've always wanted to be, free of the fear or the doubt that's holding you back. The happiness that we're here to create today, it's happening right now in your brain. You're teaching your brain to feel. So I ask you, can you teach yourself, can you teach your body what it feels like to be free and happy? What would that feel like? Let the feeling completely engulf you. Let the notion that you being stuck in that emotional, mental, and physical loop is transcended by the feeling you're creating today. To know that you're training your brain and your body to feel a new way, a way that was always destined for you. Let's do 5 more breaths. Last one, breathe it in and hold at the top. And then take a little sip more in, hold it, and release with a sigh. Holding at the bottom for 30 seconds. In the stillness, feel the intention coming to life. Feel how it feels to have created that new neural pathway in your brain, the new sensation, the new hope, the new light. Take a breath through the nose and breathe out with a sigh. Breathe in through the nose and breathe out with a sigh. One more time, breathe in through the nose and out with a sigh. Come back to your normal breathing rhythm through the nose. Keeping the eyes closed, feeling the feeling of your intention coming to life, the new sensations through the body, the mind. What you've created today is just a glimpse of what is possible. And I want to be the one to show you how to create exactly what you believe you can. Whether you take part in one-on-one mentorship or in the Regulated Me program, where I provide ongoing 12-month support for 3 sessions a week at a very competitive price, understand that there's hope for you, that you can do this. You've just got to reach out. And the best way to reach out is through the links in the description. Now take a moment to just wiggle your fingers and your toes. When you're comfortable, open your eyes. What an amazing session. You guys have started to uncover what it's like to change the way that you feel on command. Tune in for more of these sessions. And as I said, connect with me if you'd like more personalized help. Till next time, breathe well, stay regulated.